The swamp was dark, its twisting paths illuminated only by the pale light of the moon. The air was thick with the hum of insects, broken only by the muffled sound of footsteps treading carefully over the damp earth. The small group of men, women, and children followed closely, their breaths shallow with fear. Leading them was a figure, wrapped in quiet determination, a leader who seemed to see through the darkness, unyielding in the face of the dangers ahead. Born into bondage, she came into this world as property, not a person. Her earliest memories were not of warmth or of safety, but of chains, both physical and invisible. Her name, whispered softly in the fields, carried the weight of generations of suffering. As a young girl, she was subjected to brutal conditions, often beatings and forced labor. A severe head injury from a violent overseer left her with lifelong bouts of dizziness and seizures. But what seemed like a weakness became her strength. These episodes often brought vivid dreams and visions, which she would later describe as divine guidance. Escape, it seemed impossible. For someone in her position, illiterate and with a price on her head, but the fire within her was unquenchable. One fateful night, she slipped away, navigating through the swamps and the forest under the cover of darkness, relying only on her instincts, coded in song and whispered from trusted allies. Against all odds, she made it to freedom. But freedom tasted bitter when she realized her family and countless others were still in bondage. Driven by a relentless sense of justice, she returned not once, but again and again and again. She became a conductor of the Underground Railroad, guiding hundreds to freedom through treacherous terrain and under constant threat of capture. Each journey was a test of courage and strategy, requiring her to outwit her slave catchers and navigate dangerous networks. Her resolve was unwavering. "I never lost a passenger," she would later say, her voice firm with conviction of someone who faced death and won. But her bravery did not stop there. When the Civil War broke out, she saw another opportunity to fight for justice. She worked as a nurse and as a scout and as a spy for the Army, using her knowledge of the land and her skills in stealth to aid Union forces. Her most daring moment came in 1963, during the Comanche River Raid. For the first time in American history, a woman led troops into open combat. She guided Union forces as they freed over 700 enslaved people, burning the plantations and crippling the Confederate supply lines. Her leadership and courage earned her the respect of soldiers and commanders alike. Her life was a testament to the power of resilience, faith, and action. She continued her fight for justice long after the war, advocating for women's suffrage, helping former slaves transition to freedom. Though she lived modestly, her legacy was monumental. The woman who carried the weight of freedom on her shoulders, who defied the chains of oppression to liberate hundreds, was none other than Harriet Tubman, a leader, a fighter, a hero. Her story reminds us that even in the face of unsurmountable odds, one person's courage can change the course of history. So what chains are you ready to break today? What darkness will you guide others through? Welcome to the Mental Health Genders. I'm Sergeant Q, and with me as always, Doc Jess.
Welcome. Thanks for being here, you guys.
All right, Jess, I think I may have shared about Harriet Tubman before.
Yeah.
No? Oh my gosh, she is one of my all-time heroes because she was such a quiet, consummate hero. It was amazing. They actually called her Moses, if you don't know. A lot of the slaves would call her Moses. So, and it worked out great because for twofold. One, because, as the Israelites, they followed Moses to the promised land, which is where the slaves were following, was to the promised land, the north. But it also had all of the slave traders and law enforcement looking for a man named Moses, not a female.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out really well. They called her Moses. Like, who's the conductor? Who's leading you? It's Moses.
Yeah.
But it was this very small, frail little woman with a head injury who couldn't really see straight. And she's the one who led all those people to freedom. And then the first woman to lead troops into open combat, freeing over 700 additional slaves.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible story. I love her resolve because she had her freedom.
Yeah.
She could have just lived out the rest of her life in the north,
Yeah.
never went back. And think about it. They didn't have Google Maps back then, Jess.
Yeah.
It had to be everything from memory. She couldn't carry anything on her. Everything she did had to be from memory.
Yeah. That's incredible. It's incredible because so many reasons, right? Like, I'm reminded of how God chooses the weak or the broken or the wretched all throughout Scripture to fulfill and work out his plan, right? Of salvation, of justification, of justifying his people. And I love that he chooses people like Harriet Tubman to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. All she needed to do was be obedient. That was it.
That's it.
Just she didn't have to have any special skill set, do anything out of the ordinary, just be obedient to what God called her to. And he led her on that path. There's no doubt in my mind that God led her as she was leading the people. There's no way that you could travel from all the way from the south across the whole country to the north to free people. She did it one time and then was able to replicate it time and time and time and time and time again. She never lost a passenger. That is remarkable.
Great story.
It also reminds me of scripture, of different people in the Bible who God used that were struggling and imperfect. Moses is a perfect example because he couldn't speak straight and he needed Aaron to interpret what he was saying. And it's really crazy because when you actually look at how God designed that, the Pharaoh thought that he was a god. And so Moses, a mere man, couldn't just go and speak to Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm.
So God had to set Moses up as being the God figure, and then Aaron was his spokesman. So Aaron would go speak actually to the Pharaoh for Moses, who's literally standing right there, to put them on an even playing field. I didn't even realize that. I'd read that story so many times. And until I actually started to study it, I understood why God had done that, because he was elevating Moses, not from a man, but to that same status that the Pharaoh thought that he was.
That's really cool. I've never thought of that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
So I love that story, and I didn't know, right, who you were talking about, just that it was going to be weaknesses, how God uses our weakness, turns it into triumph. And so I was drawn to Ephesians 4, where Paul here is saying, therefore I, Paul, a prisoner for serving the Lord, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you've been called by God. And then his idea of living a life worthy of your calling is found in verse 2, where it says, always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. And if you think back to Harriet Tubman and all the things you hear about her, read about her, testimonies of people that knew her, did life with her, and walked through all that mess and tragedy and triumph with her, that is who Harriet Tubman was.
Right.
She was humble and gentle, and she walked out the calling that was worthy of her calling by God, right? And so what I love about this, and what I'm reminded with Paul, is therefore I, a prisoner for, like, he's literally writing to us as he's a prisoner.
Yeah,
for being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether you're a Christian or searching or whatever, our weaknesses are not an excuse. Our trauma is not an excuse. Our hardships are not excuses, but reasons to turn it into motivation and to propel us into making a difference and being the change, but always remembering to be humble and gentle, being patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults. I love that.
It's a great point. It's a great point. He's writing from prison. It's just funny how God works those things together. You had no idea who this person was going to be. All I said was that we were talking about somebody who used their weakness to become a superpower. That was it. That's all the information I gave you.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny how when as Christians, we see it and we know it's divine intervention, but other people would call it a coincidence.
Yeah.
But we have a coincidence then every single week.
Yeah.
You never know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yet you pull scripture out that matches exactly what we're talking about. And you never know who I'm going. I never let you guys in on it. So it's a surprise for you guys in the audience and a surprise for you, Jeff, as well, because you never know who I'm going to talk about. And you're just winging it.
Winging it. Yeah. Story of my life.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can tell today, we are in a little bit of a different setup.
Yes. So we're in my conference room and we're actually both in the same room. We're sitting across this table from each other and we're trying out something new. So I will take a photo of this setup and you'll see we're trying to design something that is smaller and lighter and faster than our big studio that we have. Because what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to move this around. I travel a lot, Jess travels a lot. So we're trying to design something that we can utilize when we're on the move. So it can be a mobile studio. So we're trying to set up out. I'll show you guys what it looks like. And if anybody's interested and wants to buy the same equipment, I give you a list of all the equipment that I've got and how it works. So, yeah.
I didn't grab the knowledge cards.
Oh, yeah.
But
do you have a random knowledge just off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
What percentage of conflict is resolved?
Resolved? Low. I'm going to say under 10%, 8%. Is it lower? 2%? It's not lower, it's higher than 8%? Really? Okay, well, my guess is 8%.
Maybe I'm remembering.
It can't be a random fact if you don't know what it is.
This is exactly what I would expect, actually, is me trying to throw a random knowledge question at you that I might know that you don't, and I end up being wrong. Okay,
So what do you think it is?
Well, it was presented to me as 64% of conflict goes unresolved. So that's 34.
36.
36% goes unresolved.
36% gets resolved.
And that's when it gets resolved. But that seems, I guess, like.
That seems really high. I guess it
high.
depends on what you think resolution is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes people are just like, okay, I'm just not going to talk about this anymore. That is a resolution, but not a healthy one.
That's a bad random question. Okay, how about this one? What percentage of conversations end the way they start?
End the way that they start.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a large amount of it, close to like 90%.
94%.
Yeah. If you come at somebody with hostile energy, man, you're going to get that right back.
Yeah, but if you do an easy start or a meek or a gentle startup is what we call in the counseling world, you usually get the same.
People match that energy.
Yeah.
And it just escalates. In a conversation, it's really hard to take the energy of a conversation and bring it down. Super easy to bring it up.
Yeah.
Really hard. So if you already start up here, there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Well, there is. So we all have
these bad boys right here.
You're so we all, right? Remember, this is a good time to do a plug-in.
Are we doing our rain technique?
No, we're gonna recognize that we can only control ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I've had to learn in my own life that I'm a reactionist. So if somebody comes at me hot-headed or aggressive, I match that. I very rarely come at things hot-headed or aggressive. I'm not going to say never, but very rarely. So, for a long time I was super self-righteous. Like, I don't come, like, I only mirror, I only react. If you're that, I'm at the end of the day, a well-known pastor to us looked at me and said, Jessica, if you were to say that to the Lord, would he say, okay, you have a pass?
Ooh.
He said, Jessica, you have to lay your head down at night and be able to tell yourself, I don't care how somebody else spoke to me. I honored the Lord in my response.
That's
and
good.
I was like, oh, but everything in my flesh and anybody I would talk to out in the world would justify me. Hey,
Absolutely.
You speak to me like that, I'm going to speak to you right back, right?
Yeah, you get what you give.
Mm-hmm. But it was so true. And when I started learning how to control myself in my reactions and my responses, it was incredible how the person that spoke to me aggressively would then go, oh man, kind of a jerk for talking to you that way. But when I talked to that person right back that way, then they felt justified.
Well, I say, yeah, it's justified.
Yeah, then it was a cycle. So there's your little knowledge nugget for today.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Good deal.
And it's January 6th, so Happy New Year's, everybody.
Oh yeah, January 6th, Inauguration Day.
Yeah.
See what happens. See if China flies any of those drones in. Did you watch what's going on
With the Cybertruck?
Oh.
It's a little intense.
So I love podcasts. I listen to the Sean Ryan Show, SRS. I'll put a link in the description. The stuff that's coming, like when that first went down, I was like, there's something hinky about this. Like, something doesn't jive. I got that conspiracy brain. I'm thinking, this guy is a decorated Green Beret with like 29 years in, something crazy like that. And he used a Tesla truck, which is bulletproof, to blow up
himself.
A bomb, to blow up, himself, a bomb at a Trump Tower. No. But here's the thing. This guy has the level of training to bring that entire building to the ground.
Yeah.
And he used fireworks and a propane tank and some camping gear. Like, nah, this doesn't jive. Something is not.
The email. Emails.
Yeah. And I'm like, something's not right. And now this stuff comes out with Sean Ryan Show. This Green Beret was trying to get in contact with the media to share, to whistleblow on some stuff that was going down. And it was just wild to listen to that interview and see. So if you haven't checked it out, I'll put a link. It's worth looking at. And it explains all those drones that we're seeing. This guy was a drone specialist. That's like what he did. He ran a drone program. So he would know everything. Probably why they're out to get him, because he's going to blow the whistle on that and a few other things. But those are Chinese drones that they've been launching apparently from submarines that are over New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are getting a little spicy.
That's right.
We just went to see Homestead. Did you see that yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
You would like it.
Yeah, okay.
It's all about this.
Isn't it like Prepper Life or something like that?
Yeah, it's all about this super rich guy who starts a homestead, and he's got everything right for like him, his family, and the people that helped him start the homestead to be able to eat for 6 months. Okay. Right? They've got greenhouses and they've got gardens and like wheat barrels, like lots of stuff, right? And he hires the special forces security team to come and be a security. And like the nuclear bomb goes off in LA and all the craziness of what would happen to people. And that internal turmoil of, do we let these people outside of our gate in and figure this out together? Or do I just save the people in my homestead?
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see both sides, right? And at the end of the day, if you're, a Christian, we look out for each other. So
no. I'm reminded of the virgins in the lamp oil, man. Like if you didn't prepare, like, we all know this stuff could happen, right?
No.
Where we could be without power, water for extended periods of time. If you have not prepared yourself to be self-sufficient, then you're on your own, buddy. Like, don't expect me to rescue you. That ain't happening.
Sure. And that you see that side of it, and I get it. And we're talking 6 months of, for sure, full bellies of the good life, when there's just maybe 20 or 30 people outside of your gate you're going to sit there and watch children starve right in front of your face.
It's no, I would shoo them away. It's not just 20 or 30 people, because then they have friends and family that they all want to bring in. Each one of those people has 2 or 3 other people that they're good people and they're just my family and I just want to let them in. And now you have all these people that if you had, what did he start with? 100 people? How many were in this group originally?
Not even.
Okay, so let's say 40 people. Now you have 40 people in your group. Now you just let in 20 people that do not align with your goals and values, and you've let them in. And they want to each let in 2 other people. Now you have 60 people that don't align with your goals and values inside your compound using your stuff, and there's only 40 of you.
But
very quickly it unravels.
You didn't see the movie, and you didn't see. It wasn't just like there was no comms. Nobody had any community. It was just a couple people outside their gate, and you saw once the wife did let him in, those people helped tremendously in the community, be able to sustain them even longer than 6 months with their skills and abilities.
Hollywood's great at telling stories, but that's not reality. Yeah. It's not.
Well,
because you don't know these people, you can't trust.
Oh, he knew some of them. They were friends.
Then they should have known. They should have been prepared. Why weren't they in that group originally if they knew who he was and what he was doing? Like, they should have been in the group. Yeah. It's kind of like Noah's Ark, man. When that door closed, like, that's it.
Yeah, I know.
Noah didn't open that bad boy up and let anybody in. They all saw him building the ark and laughed at him. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely.
So all you guys out there that are laughing at your prepper friends, like.
Yeah, I know. Right.
He's going to go Old Testament on you.
I think there's a moderation and a place to draw the line is like, sure, if you prep for yourself and you are doing well and somebody else is prepping to the best of their ability and they're getting prepared and I have a year's worth of food and my single mom friend has 30 days worth of food, right? Like as our sister in Christ, I know that she did what she could to prep, and I'm going to help her out.
I will send them all to you, Jess. Like, hey, I can't help you, but I know this gal. She's got more than enough to help everybody. Now we'll see how that works out.
No, the movie was good, and it put a sense of urgency.
Oh, it's a movie. I thought it was a TV series.
So it starts as a movie, and then it continues as a TV series.
Oh, well, I am out of the loop. You see how much TV I watch?
Yes.
I barely even watch the TV that I'm in. I barely even watch the blocks.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was interesting. I think everybody should go watch it just so they get a little fire up there. You know what? To start prepping. It doesn't hurt to prep.
Yeah, we see it there's storms that hit here every single winter. We're going to lose power for 3-4 days. This last time we lost it for like 8 days. We all know that. It happens every year. But you still see people out there scrambling like, I need this, I need that, begging for all these different supplies that they don't have when they've had years to prepare for this. And watch, it'll be the same people next year. It's the same people next year that aren't going to prepare all year. And it's going to happen. And then they're going to be on social media begging other people to give them things that they should have been able to get for themselves over the last year. I see it all the time. All the time. Yeah. Don't be that person.
Don't be that person. It kind of brings us back to our sermon that our pastor preached yesterday 2 days ago on discipline. Biblical discipline. And man, it was fire. Well, Casey, let's put a link to that sermon. It was so fire. But it's all about discipline.
It's sacrificing what you want now for what you want to achieve later is what it's all about.
And even to go even further, sacrificing what you want now for what you're going to need later.
Ooh, that's even better.
Yeah. Like the bare minimum is live within your means. And you would think, well, yeah, duh. I mean, debt to income ratio in America is astronomical. So people don't get that.
Right.
People don't understand that. I have to fight my flesh. I had to reevaluate a lot of things in my life after that sermon, right? There's a lot of things I do really good at. My self-discipline is off the charts when it comes to doing hard things and cold plunging and getting up early and not watching TV shows, instead reading a self-help book. Like I do have really good self-discipline in some areas, and there's some areas I was convicted and I was like, okay, let's go home and write this. this list of the things I need to really up my discipline in. And so if I know I have things to work on for discipline, I know the majority of our followers do as well.
Yeah. So small little disciplines. Don't try and overwhelm yourself. Start with something small. Like I'm gonna get up. I usually get up at 7 o'clock. I'm gonna get up at 6 o'clock for 5 days. Small little discipline. Problem is people try and do too much too fast and then they fail. And then they're like, I'm never gonna try that again.
Yep.
So small little things, small little disciplines, you'll build up that mental resiliency. You'll build up your anterior cingulate cortex, which will allow you to do more hard things. And then next thing you know, you're going to be rocking it, man.
I would also challenge, though, if you have big things you need to change, like if you're like demonstratively overspending every month, then don't do little changes. Paradigm shift. Figure out, ask ChatGPT, help me do a paradigm shift to start living within my means. This is my budget. These are my bills. What do I do? And it'll tell me what to do. So, hey, you guys, as always, like and subscribe to our videos if you like it, or send us an anonymous email or anonymous of what you would like to see more of or what you don't like, and we will keep producing what we can and giving you guys nuggets. And
every week we try to educate, empower, and encourage you on your mental health journey. So for the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.